The real reason. You don't trust yourself anymore. Something changed inside you, and you felt it. There was a time when you could make decisions without overthinking every step. You trusted your instincts. You moved forward, even when things were uncertain. But now, something feels off. You question everything. You replay conversations in your mind. You hesitate, even in moments that used to feel simple. And the hardest part is this: you don't even recognize yourself anymore. It's not just fear. It's not just anxiety. It's a quiet, persistent doubt that follows you into every decision. A voice that keeps asking, "What if you're wrong again?" And over time, that voice got louder than your own sense of direction. You started believing that something inside you broke. Maybe it was a mistake you regret. Maybe it was a season where everything went wrong at once. Maybe it was trusting the wrong people, making the wrong choices, or watching things fall apart despite your best efforts. Little by little, confidence didn't disappear all at once. It eroded. And now you're left trying to figure out how to trust yourself again. But every attempt feels unstable. What most people don't realize is that this struggle goes deeper than personality, mindset, or past experiences. There is a reason why your confidence feels so fragile. There is a reason why your inner voice no longer feels reliable. The truth is, you were never designed to carry the weight of being your own source of certainty. And when you try to build your life on something that was never meant to hold you, it doesn't just weaken you, it confuses you. There is a passage in the Bible that speaks directly into this, not as a distant religious idea, but as a diagnosis of what is happening inside you right now. It reveals why self-trust alone eventually collapses, and why so many people feel lost even when they are trying their best to hold everything together. This is not about losing yourself. It's about where you've been placing your trust. And once you see it clearly, something inside you begins to realign in a way that feels steady again. You didn't wake up one day and decide to stop trusting yourself. It happened slowly, in ways that almost felt invisible at first. It began in moments where things didn't go the way you expected. You made a decision believing it was the right one, and the outcome disappointed you. Then it happened again, and again. Not always in dramatic ways, but enough to plant a seed of doubt. Each experience left a mark. At first it was just caution. You became more careful, more thoughtful. But over time, that caution turned into hesitation. You started analyzing everything, trying to avoid another mistake, trying to protect yourself from the feeling of getting it wrong again. What you didn't notice is that, little by little, you stopped trusting your own judgment. Your mind began collecting evidence against you. Every failure became proof. Every regret reinforced the idea that maybe you can't rely on yourself. And without realizing it, you built an internal narrative that quietly says, "You're not safe to trust." This is where the weight begins. Because now, every decision feels heavy. Simple choices become exhausting. You don't just think about what to do, you think about all the ways it could go wrong. You second-guess what you feel, what you believe, even what you want. And the more you try to fix this by thinking harder, the more trapped you feel inside your own mind. There is something deeper happening here. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." This is not a command meant to control you. It is a revelation about your design. When you lean only on your own understanding, your perspective becomes limited to your experiences, your fears, and your past. And if your past contains pain, failure, or confusion, then your understanding becomes unstable. So it's not surprising that you don't trust yourself. You've been trying to build certainty on something that has been shaped by wounds you never fully processed. This is why the more you rely only on yourself, the more fragile your confidence becomes. Not because you are weak, but because you were never meant to carry that weight alone. At some point, something inside you made a quiet decision. I need to be in control so this doesn't happen again. You may not have said it out loud, but your actions started reflecting it. You began trying to predict everything, manage every outcome, think 10 steps ahead just to avoid the pain of being wrong one more time. Control started to feel like safety, but instead of bringing peace, it brought pressure, because the more you try to control everything, the more you realize how much is actually out of your control. And that realization creates a tension inside you. You feel responsible for outcomes you cannot guarantee. You feel the need to get everything right, even when life itself is unpredictable. This is where exhaustion begins to take over. Your mind doesn't rest. Even in silence, it keeps working. Replaying scenarios, rehearsing conversations, trying to solve problems that haven't even happened yet. And the deeper you go into this cycle, the more disconnected you feel from your own sense of clarity. You start asking yourself questions you never used to ask. What if I choose wrong again? What if I can't trust my instincts? What if I ruin everything? And without realizing it, your relationship with yourself becomes strained. You don't feel like a safe place anymore. Your own thoughts begin to feel like something you have to manage instead of something you can rely on. This is not just overthinking. This is what happens when you try to take a position in your life that was never meant to be yours. Because control creates an illusion. It makes you feel like if you think enough, plan enough, and analyze enough, you can secure your future. But the truth is, control cannot give you peace. It can only give you temporary relief, followed by deeper anxiety. There is a subtle shift that happens here. You stop living guided and you start living guarded. Every decision becomes a defense mechanism. Every step becomes a risk calculation. And slowly, life stops feeling like something you walk through with confidence and starts feeling like something you are trying to survive without making a mistake. And that is a heavy way to live. Because deep down, your soul is not looking for control. It is looking for something solid enough to trust, so you don't have to carry everything by yourself. This is where something powerful begins to come into focus, not as an abstract idea, but as a truth that speaks directly into what you are feeling. Because the issue was never that you lost your ability to think, decide, or move forward. The issue is that you started depending on something that was never meant to be your foundation. And this is exactly what the Bible exposes with clarity. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 9, it says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" This is not a condemnation. It is a revelation. It is showing you that your internal world, your emotions, your perceptions, your instincts can be influenced, distorted, and shaped by things you don't even fully see. Pain, disappointment, fear, past experiences, all of these leave imprints on how you interpret reality. So when you rely only on what you feel or what seems right in the moment, you are building your decisions on something that is constantly shifting, and that is why it feels unstable. You may have trusted your heart in a moment when it was wounded. You may have followed your instincts when they were shaped by fear. You may have believed something about yourself that was formed in a season of confusion. And when those decisions didn't lead where you expected, it created a fracture inside you, not just in your confidence, but in your sense of direction. Now, every time you try to trust yourself again, something inside resists. Because deep down, you remember what it felt like to get it wrong when you were sure you were right. This is why the problem feels so complex. It's not just about making better choices. It's about understanding that your inner compass, by itself, was never designed to function as your ultimate guide. And this realization can feel uncomfortable at first, because it challenges the idea that everything you need is already within you in a complete and reliable way. It confronts the belief that self-trust alone is enough to sustain you. But at the same time, it begins to explain something that finally makes sense. You were not failing at trusting yourself. You were trying to extract certainty from something that can be influenced by fear, shaped by pain, and altered by circumstances. And once you see that clearly, something shifts. The pressure to have all the answers within yourself starts to loosen. Because maybe the reason you feel lost is not because you are broken. Maybe it is because you have been looking for stability in a place that was never meant to provide it. When this truth settles in, something inside you begins to reorganize. For a long time, you believed the problem was your lack of confidence. You thought that if you could just become stronger, wiser, more certain, then everything would fall into place. But now you start to see something deeper. The issue was never your strength, it was your source. Because when your confidence is built only on yourself, it becomes fragile. It rises when things go well and collapses when they don't. It depends on your performance, your clarity, your ability to get things right. And that is a heavy burden to carry. Every mistake feels like proof that you can't trust yourself. Every wrong turn reinforces the fear that you are not capable enough. So instead of moving forward with freedom, you move carefully, trying not to fail again. But there is a different way to live. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, it says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." This changes everything. It means you were never meant to have complete control over your path. You can think, you can plan, you can choose, but the outcome does not rest entirely on you. There is a guidance beyond your own understanding that brings direction, even when you don't see the full picture. And when you start to understand this, the pressure begins to lift. You no longer need to force certainty out of yourself. You no longer need to have every answer before taking a step. You are allowed to move forward without carrying the weight of controlling every result. This is where real confidence starts to grow. Not the kind that says, "I trust myself to get everything right," but the kind that says, "Even if I don't see everything clearly, I trust that I am not walking alone." And that changes how you face your decisions. Instead of being paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, you begin to move with a different kind of peace. You still think, you still reflect, but you are no longer trying to be your own foundation. You are learning to rely on something more stable than your fluctuating thoughts and emotions. And slowly, the voice of doubt that once dominated your mind begins to lose its strength. Because your confidence is no longer rooted in your perfection. It is rooted in direction. Something begins to feel different inside you, not because everything around you changed, but because the way you relate to your decisions starts to shift. Before, every choice felt like a test. You felt like your entire future depended on getting it right. One wrong move could ruin everything. That pressure made you hesitate, overthink, and question yourself at every step. Now, there is a quiet release. You begin to understand that your life is not sustained by your ability to predict outcomes, but by your willingness to walk in alignment. In the book of Psalm chapter 32, verse 8, it says, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." This is not distant guidance. It is personal. It means you are not expected to figure everything out on your own. There is direction available to you, not as a rigid map, but as a relationship. Guidance that meets you where you are, even when you feel uncertain. And this changes how you approach your daily life. Instead of trying to solve your entire future in your mind, you begin to pay attention to the present. You start asking a different kind of question. Not, "How do I guarantee the perfect outcome?" but, "Am I aligned with the direction I sense right now?" This creates clarity. Because when you focus on alignment instead of control, your steps become lighter. You are no longer trying to carry tomorrow while living today. You are no longer forcing yourself to have answers you were never meant to have in advance. And something powerful happens in your mind. The noise starts to quiet down. That constant internal dialogue, the endless analysis, the fear of making the wrong move. It begins to lose its intensity, not because you suddenly became certain about everything, but because you stopped demanding certainty from yourself. You begin to trust the process of being guided. Even when you don't fully understand what is ahead, there is a growing confidence that you are not moving blindly. There is a sense that each step, even the uncertain ones, can still lead you where you need to be. And this restores something you thought you lost. Not just confidence in your decisions, but peace in your movement. You no longer need to rush. You no longer need to freeze. You can move forward step by step, with a quiet assurance that you are being led, not left alone to figure everything out. This begins to change the way you live your everyday life in ways that are both simple and profound. Because now, instead of waking up already overwhelmed by everything you need to figure out, you start to approach your day with a different posture, not trying to control everything, but learning to respond to what is in front of you with clarity and trust. In the past, even small decisions felt heavy. What to do next, what to say, which direction to take. Everything carried the weight of, what if I get this wrong again? But now, that question starts to lose its power. Not because the risk disappears, but because your perspective shifts. In the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 34, it says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This is not telling you to ignore responsibility. It is freeing you from the illusion that you must solve your entire life all at once. When you carry tomorrow into today, your mind becomes overloaded. You start making decisions based on fear of what might happen instead of clarity about what is happening. And that is where confusion grows. But when you begin to live one step at a time, something changes. You become present. You start noticing what actually matters in the moment. You begin to make decisions based on what is right now, not on imagined scenarios that may never happen. And this brings a different kind of stability. Because clarity often lives in the present, not in the future you are trying to control. This is where trust starts to rebuild, not as a feeling, but as a pattern. You take a step, you stay aligned, you move again. You begin to see that you don't need to have everything figured out to keep moving forward. You don't need perfect confidence to make a right decision in the moment. You just need to remain connected to the direction you are being given. And over time, this creates something solid inside you. You no longer feel like every decision defines your worth. You no longer feel like one mistake will undo everything. There is a growing sense that even if you don't see the whole path, you are still being led through it. And that gives you the courage to keep going, not with pressure, but with peace. There is a moment where everything you've been carrying finally becomes clear in a different way, not as a burden, but as an awakening. You begin to realize that you were never actually lost. You were just trying to navigate life using a source that kept shifting under your feet. Every time you tried to stand firm, something inside you moved, changed, or reacted based on fear, memory, or pressure. And that instability made you question yourself. But now, something steadier is being formed. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 3, it says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." Notice where the peace comes from. Not from having all the answers, not from being certain about every decision, but from where your trust is anchored. A steadfast mind is not a mind that knows everything. It is a mind that has stopped trying to be its own foundation. And this is where peace becomes real for you. Because before, your mind was constantly shifting. One moment you felt confident, the next you doubted everything. One day you believed in your direction, the next you questioned it all. But now, your stability is no longer tied to your thoughts changing. It is tied to something unchanging. And this transforms the way you experience life. You still face uncertainty. You still have moments where you don't see the full picture, but those moments no longer shake you the same way. They don't define your state. They don't take your peace away, because your peace is no longer dependent on your understanding. It is rooted in your trust, and this is what restores your ability to move forward with confidence. Not a loud, aggressive confidence that tries to prove something, but a quiet, steady confidence that remains even when things are unclear. You begin to walk differently. Not because life became predictable, but because your foundation became stable. Now everything comes together in a way that feels both confronting and deeply relieving. Because if you are honest, the real exhaustion was never just about life itself. It was about trying to carry a role that was never yours to carry. You tried to be your own source of direction, your own guarantee that everything would work out, your own foundation in moments of uncertainty, and that pressure slowly drained you. It made you question yourself. It made you hesitate. It made you feel like something inside you was broken. But now you see it differently. You were not broken. You were overloaded. In the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verses 28 to 30, it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." This is an invitation, not to try harder, not to become stronger on your own, but to release what you were never meant to carry. And this is where true rest begins. Not the kind that comes from escaping your problems, but the kind that comes from no longer being alone in them. You begin to live differently. You still make decisions, you still move forward, you still face challenges, but you are no longer doing it from a place of pressure. You are doing it from a place of trust. And that changes everything. Because now, even when you don't have all the answers, you are not shaken the same way. Even when things are unclear, you are not consumed by doubt. There is a quiet certainty forming inside you. Not that you will always get it right, but that you are no longer depending only on yourself. And maybe this is the shift your heart has been waiting for. You don't need to fix yourself to trust again. You just need to place your trust where it was always meant to be. And from that place, something inside you becomes steady again. Now there is a decision in front of you, and it is more personal than it seems. Because after everything you have understood, you can no longer say you don't know why you feel the way you feel. Something has been revealed. Something inside you recognizes that the instability, the doubt, the exhaustion, they were never random. They were signals. Signals showing you that you were trying to live disconnected from the very source that gives direction, clarity, and peace. And now the question is no longer, what is wrong with me? The question becomes, where will I place my trust from this point forward? This is where everything becomes real. Because understanding this truth is one thing, living it is another. In the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15, it says, "Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve." This is about alignment. Not just what you believe in your mind, but what you rely on in your daily life. What you turn to when you are uncertain. What you depend on when you feel pressure. What guides your decisions when you don't have clear answers. Every day in quiet ways you are making this choice. You either return to trying to control everything, trying to extract certainty from your own understanding, trying to protect yourself from ever being wrong again. Or you begin to live guided. You begin to trust that you are not alone in your decisions. You begin to release the need to have everything figured out before taking a step. You begin to move with a different kind of confidence, one that is not fragile, because it is not built on you alone. And this is where your life starts to shift in a real, visible way. Not instantly, but consistently. Because every time you choose trust over control, something inside you strengthens. Every time you move forward without demanding perfect clarity, your mind becomes lighter. Every time you release the pressure to be your own foundation, your soul finds more peace. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about finally living the way you were created to live. And if something inside you resonates with this, if you feel that quiet sense that this is what has been missing, then don't ignore it. Because this might be the moment where everything begins to change.